Do you suck on the fresh? Is game one the bane of your existence when you go out and bowl sport tournaments? Well, there is no need to fear because your boy's here. I'm going to give you some tips on how to be more successful on heavy oil conditions and fresher conditions. There are going to be kind of two parts / two aspects to this video. One, I'm going to show you how to either decide on the correct equipment for said situation or how to prepare that equipment to conquer the heavier fresh oil conditions. And on the second half of the video, it's going to be more of a physical adjustment kind of tip video for you guys. So two-part video. First half for the younger people who are really into equipment. Second half for the older people who think equipment should not be a thing as far as evolution and having 7 balls, 8 balls, 9 balls, 10 balls at a tournament. You should be able to do everything with just 1 ball. That's going to be the part for you guys, physical adjustments. But here we go, guys. How to conquer heavy oil conditions. So like I said, the first half of the video is going to be about how you can kind of prepare your equipment or select the correct equipment to conquer the heavy, fresh game one conditions. Typically, there's going to be a higher, I would say, volume of oil in the front part of the lane. The lane is going to feel pretty slick, and typically when that happens, I would say amateurs typically don't use enough surface when they are bowling on the fresh conditions, even if they have the high-end bowling balls, you know, the Ion Maxes, the RST Hyperdrives. So that's a very important thing, is to match not only just the surface, but the actual cover stock itself to the situation. This is where knowing your equipment is very important. This is where having a knowledgeable pro shop operator is very important because, for example, there are 2 different solid asymmetric options in the rotor grip line specifically, the RST Hyperdrive and the XL. So both solid asymmetrics. That can get a little bit confusing. Why are there 2 of the same bowling ball in the product line? Well, it's because the composition of the cover stocks is different. If you're a regular on this channel, you know a lot about the XL, my affinity for the XL. Much weaker cover stock, although it is solid and it is dull. To the naked eye, they seem pretty similar, but 2 very different uses for the Hyperdrive and the XL. The Hyperdrive, because it has our super strong Micro Trax cover stock on it, it's going to pick up on the lane much sooner. It's going to be a lot more better suited for the heavy oil conditions that are going to be out there when you're going to a lot of these sport tournaments. Whereas the XL may not be so good, even though it is a solid, dull, asymmetric bowling ball, might not pick up in the front part of the lane as well. And I actually get that question a lot about that ball. People think they're going in to get the super early aggressive bowling ball when they get the XL, and that's just not what it is. So really knowing what the cover stock is very important. Getting that information down, along with knowing a little bit about the weight blocks, that's a little bit more self-explanatory because there are numbers to correlate. Lower RG, higher diff, that combination typically means the ball's gonna be stronger, ball's gonna wanna hook earlier. So you're gonna wanna look for those when you are bowling on a fresh condition. But none of this is set in stone, none of it's black and white. It all depends, as you know, on the lane surface. HP lanes, high friction lane surface. Hyperdrive may honestly not be the greatest, but you gotta just test it out and find out. The next part, like I mentioned earlier, is matching the surface. And this video is going to be kind of combining all the elements into one, and it's not going to be a one-size-fits-all. Sometimes you're going to be using the stronger cover stock with a little bit of less surface on there. Sometimes you're going to be using a slightly weaker cover stock with more surface on there. And that's the tricky thing about bowling. There are many different ways that things can be done to accomplish the same goal, and it's going to be different for each person. It's going to be different for each tournament. It's going to be different for each bowling center. It's going to be different for every single situation almost that you encounter. But one thing that I like to do, if, like I said, high friction lane surface here, but I'm still blowing a lot of oil out there. This is the 2024 USBC Masters pattern. Very long, high volume of oil. When you bowl on a high friction lane surface, sometimes you can take balls like the Origin, shiny, still a very strong cover stock, but has some pearl in there. It's a hybrid. Take these, and one of these, this is just a 2000 pad. Typically I'll carry around the Magic 1000 pad with me, but high friction surface. I don't want to go too much, but you can sand these down. You're allowed to make a shiny ball not shiny anymore to get it to pick up a little bit sooner. And what that's going to do is it's going to bring the shape that this ball gives you naturally a little bit closer to you and allow you to use on the fresh. So maybe when your solid asymmetric isn't working too well, might be bogging a little too early and just not striking, this could be the option. It's going to give you a touch quicker of a reaction, but with the surface, it's going to help it pick up in the oil. And some telltale signs if your ball is going a little bit too long, which is, I would say, the most common thing that amateur bowlers are running into when they're bowling on heavier oil or sport patterns, is maybe your misses or kind of leaving designers a lot of big fours when you go high, specifically when you go light 2/8s and 2/8-10s, 2/4-8-10s. If you're leaving a lot of those, your ball's typically going a little bit too deep, so you're going to want to hit your balls with some surface when you can. Obviously, you can't do it in the middle competition, but you got to prepare your balls for that situation, and that's why you want to have an arsenal top to bottom that covers a wide variety of situations. But that's the biggest kind of telltale. Also, when you feel like your pocket's really small, half pockets aren't really carrying the 10, it's easy to 4-pin, things like that. Probably a sign your ball's going a little bit too far. Now the second half of this video, the part for the boomers, the part for the old people, what you can do with your physical game to adjust a little bit better to heavy oil conditions. The first thing you can do, the first thing you're going to want to do if you want to be very, very successful on sport patterns, no matter the situation, but especially on the fresh oil, is you're going to want to get that hand behind the ball. And it sounds a lot more simple than it actually is to achieve. If you are on the side of the ball, it is going to be very difficult for you to be up the back of the ball. Most people just try and move their hand to the back of the ball. It's a little bit more required of body orientation and the arm and everything above the hand to be able to get that hand behind the ball. If you haven't seen it, there's a video on the channel, link will be down in the description below, or a picture of the thumbnail will come out. It's got like 500,000 views. Thank you guys to have watched that. But it pretty much explains all that, how to get a proper release to get that hand behind the ball and being able to do whatever you want with it. But if you're not getting that hand and that elbow behind the ball, it's going to be very hard for your ball to pick up traction. Why is that? Is because a ball hooking is pretty much just a ball losing its axis rotation. So the more axis rotation you impart on the ball to start, the longer it's going to take for it to lose that rotation. So the less you impart to begin with, the earlier it's going to hook. Kind of makes sense. The second part that you can do to be better on fresh oil conditions, throw the ball slower. I would say ball speed is probably one of the most important and understated things in the bowling game, and I think that's one of the best things that the pros are pretty much better at than most amateurs, is being able to go up and down that ball speed, specifically down. I will say that increasing ball speed is a much less common adjustment than dropping the ball speed, because one of the angles we have to create out on tour, I say we like I'm on tour still, that they have to create, and two, on fresh oil, bowling on a lot more oil, you got to get the ball to pick up a lot sooner. So the slower you throw it, the more time you give your ball to lose that rotation like we were talking about, and pretty much get your ball to hook more. It's pretty simple. It's a simple and a complicated game. Putting all these things together, getting your equipment right, getting the right cover stocks to match up with the oil and the lane surface, along with being able to manipulate when and where your ball hooks, will make you unstoppable at sport shot tournaments. Practice using different ball speeds and different rotations. That will make your 6-ball arsenal feel like 12, 18, 24 bowling balls, really expand your game. And then off the lanes, really expanding your knowledge on the bowling balls themselves. The cover stocks, they have a lot of different names. It can get confusing. So if you have a good pro shop guy, go spend some time, talk to him if he'll let you. Come in TV Bowling Supply, we can get you all taken care of, and we can get that all sorted for you, get you to know your arsenal a little bit better, so you know what balls to use in what situations and what balls not to use in certain situations. But there you go, guys. That is how you will conquer the heavy oil and the fresh conditions. If you guys enjoyed this type of informational video, drop a comment down below. If you guys didn't, just thank you for watching and move on. But that is it, guys. That is another TV Bowling Supply video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.